Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 733, recording today on Wednesday, the 19th of October, 2022. This is the Music Technology Podcast. We talk about stuff to do with music technology, synthesizers, drum machines, software, innit? That kind of stuff. And I just want to, while I've got you, have a little bit of a plug for our EMOM night, which is coming up on the 26th of November. If you check our Facebook and check our website, there should be some information on it. November the 26th, we're going to be having a load of acts joining us live in Bath. We're putting on a show, so I'll post. I should, and this is where I'm babbling because I've just realised I didn't actually have a link ready, and I should have done, which is really amiss of me. But I also want to say, encourage you to join us on our Patreon by pressing this button here. This gentleman will explain it all for you. Why not consider supporting us on Patreon? As well as the warm feeling you get, there are plenty of benefits: ad-free videos of most of our monetized content, Sonic Talk pre-show, samples from some of our reviews in decent sampler form, which is a free format, as well as patch downloads for other synths and units, other exclusive videos. You could save 12% on a year up front, and if you're in before the end of the show, your name will appear in the end credits. Top tier supporters only. Thanks for listening. Yes, so please do join us if you feel the need. Anyway, let's get on to our guest. I'm having internet connectivity problems. I really do hope it's not going to be one of those shows. I'll distract that by saying welcome to our friends in the YouTubes. We've got Steve Elbows, Buzz, Redwalks, and in the IRC. Nice to see you all. Grown. Thank you very much to Wagyu for his continued monitoring and moderating of the YouTube comments. Very much appreciated, because we do. I suppose it's a sign of success when you get a lot of spam, because it means that you're noticed. You're no longer niche. You become more kind of mainstream. I don't think we'd ever be mainstream because we are niche. Anyway, Robin Vincent from Molten Modular, how are you? Him off the telly, off the YouTubes. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm good, thank you. Very exciting about the EMOM thing. That's always a right crack. That is.
Have you done one?
Exciting. Oh yeah. We have them in Norwich every month. Every month I try to make it, and I make probably twice a year, if I'm being honest about it. But it's the best thing, just getting together in the bottom of a pub somewhere. Well, that's how it is in Norwich, and listening to craziness, and then contributing your own little 15 minutes of craziness into that void is just the most fascinating thing ever.
Yeah, and I think the energy is really good because of the way that it's structured. I want to say, Martin Christie and Jamie Morgan from GeoSynth has been really helpful in helping us kind of get the tone of it right and put it on. And one thing I hadn't really considered, the fact because everybody does a very short set, it's not like kind of having to write an album, record it, prepare it for live. You can kind of make it much more bite-sized. So it's sort of, in some ways, I mean, obviously it's still a little bit stressful if it's not something you do every day, but it's kind of probably good it's probably good to release some of those terrifying hormones once in a while, all the adrenaline and endorphins you get, right? It keeps you young.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, particularly from a modular point of view, because I mean, from when I do it, I'm sort of working up a patch during the day, and I just take that patch and play with it for 15 minutes, and no one seems to mind. And it's not polished; it's risky, and that I think comes across in what you're doing. And that to me is kind of how it should be. You're throwing yourself into it rather, and it gives you that opportunity to learn about what you shouldn't be doing if you're ever going to do it live properly, and it gets you to hone down on things to focus on and what to fix, and the things you can't see those bloody knobs, you can't see what's going on, where did that patch cable, why is this patch cable not plugged in somewhere, things like that. And it's a great learning opportunity as well as being a great laugh as well.
Yeah, I'm going to now post. I'm just going to stick it in the chat so that it shows up. Oh, that's for some reason. EMOM tickets. There we go. I think it's that. Yes. I think we're okay. 1, 2. Is this thing on? Yeah. So this week, well, I suppose there's only the two of us, so we can afford to be as chatty as we like because there's no one else to fill the space. On the internet live streaming, there's no one to catch you if you fall. We could both blame our connectivity. So what have you been doing this week then? Have you got any exciting stuff in? I guess you might have some Arturia things, but anything else going on in your channel?
Yeah, well, this evening I'm doing the last of the Erica Synths educational DIY builds, which is a wave folder. So that's we started this in January. It came out in January, the first module of 9 modules, and the wave folder is the last one. So having a go at that tonight and then finishing it off in a week's time. So I've got that to look forward to, and I haven't thought about it yet. So that's what I'm doing as soon as I'm off here. Otherwise, yeah, I had a Microfreak promised to me, which didn't turn up until this morning, I have to say. So that's a little bit of a shame, but that's okay.
Well,
that's okay. That's okay.
To be honest,
it gives me. Yeah.
It beats having it on time and then having no time to do it, and then the only thing you can upload is in 360p. To be honest, I think you'll catch the wave.
Yeah, I mean, it just means I'm just going to put it to one side and look at it slowly, and yeah, which has advantages, I think, in rather than being on that first tsunami of YouTubers. So yeah, it's good though. But my first impression is that yeah, it's all right, isn't it? Look, it sounds like a real synth, which is always a good first impression.
I've got mine here, which it's got that. A lot of people are comparing it to Hydrasynth, actually, which I suppose a Hydrasynth Explorer, which I guess it is in terms of cost, perhaps less so in terms of capability. But it's got, I mean, the Mini Freak is a very well loved instrument, isn't it? I mean, it had some amazing OS upgrades, which really kind of brought more and more stuff. I mean, notwithstanding the vocoder, actually, which I don't think is present in this one, which is a bit of a weird omission. I suppose maybe that's to do with the number of voices. I'm not entirely sure, but it might be more complicated to do.
The number of people who use vocoders, maybe that's a factor. As in, you know, if all 3 of them are not going to buy it, then it's going to be a little bit pointless. Potentially.
I thought when you put a vocoder, it's because everybody uses them. Everybody wants to sound like who is it?
That band that uses vocoders.
Oh no, it would be what's her face? You know, Imogen Heap. Nowhere near as good as Imogen Heap, basically.
Yeah.
Everybody can attempt to not play hide and seek because it's only a 6 voice. I suppose if you did it in 12 voice. Yeah, I know it's interesting. I'm not. Yeah, it'd need a model, but anyway, there hasn't got that.
Different feel to the Explorer, though. I've got the Explorer just out of over there. There's something about that keyboard on the Explorer which is quite interesting. This doesn't quite have that. Although I mean, I'm appreciating the orange felt. I think just behind the keys. I think that's a nice touch. But you know, as first impressions go.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know what's going on with my web page. I'm going to have to reload it. Sorry.
But most important for me,
Sorry, you carry on.
Okay, so the most important feature for me, and I hope it's part of the other one, the little controller as well, is the arpeggiator. Because the arpeggiator on the Step 30, on the Key Step 37, is awesome. Pattern mode, I use it continuously. You know, instant demo material. You just stick in, you press hold, you press some keys, and it does a thing, and it always sounds good. And this, I think, has it from looking at it. It has pattern mode number 8 on the arpeggiator. Which is great. That I'm happy as anything. I can turn that on and it will play itself, and I can then explore the sounds. I think that's superb. I'm glad they've brought that into their other bits and pieces. So
I have to check that out because, well, I haven't got a Keystep 37 anymore. Well, I've still got one, but it just stopped working, and I don't know what happened. Just basically, I think it must have bust a fuse or got a power surge or something. It's a goner. So yeah, I don't have that, sadly, but hey ho. Right, well, we do have some topics, don't we? There is things to talk about and stuff. Let me just let's find one, because I've done the EMOM, I've done the shall we start with the Arturia stuff? I mean, even though that's what we've been talking about for a while, let's start with that. And this, you know, for those of you who want the full pro presentation, we'll just put the Arturia.
It's a bloke in a warehouse thing again.
Yeah, warehouse and a table with a drape on it. Not Sebastian, unconventional. They use unconventional and inspirational on this. Yeah, I recognise a full-size MIDI DINs, for those of you who wondered. Yeah, there it is. I mean, we've all seen it. I don't. Did you actually watch the Arturia event last night? Because they had the big rendezvous thing, which was, and they came on and they did a sort of. Well, I hate to say it, but it kind of made you realise just how good the Apple version of that kind of live stream is, because the green screen was a bit crummy and it was just not quite as slick. But I mean, fair play to them. But they were definitely going for that vibe, weren't they?
They were. It is difficult to pull that off. I think. I think people like Apple, Microsoft have been doing it for so long that they've honed it a bit. So it's hard to jump into that space. But funny enough, I was out looking at sixth form colleges last night with my eldest. So I completely, at 5 o'clock, I was elsewhere, sadly. So I had to sort of catch up a little bit today. But yeah, it's also they didn't give you the synth. I mean, everybody wanted the synth. The synth was leaking out of every outlet, and they kicked it off with, let's have a look at this little MIDI controller, something along those lines, which I thought was also brave. Yeah,
yeah.
But good
they
stuff,
had in the embargoes for all of those things that they released yesterday. It was like 615, 620, and it was just like. Man, you must be joking. That level of granular. The thing is, I was sitting there going, "Wait, the HD version still hasn't finished processing, and it's been up there for 2 hours." No. And I was like, "Oh, it's not going to do it, is it?" And then it's still processing this morning. But anyway, the other things though, augmented piano, which sounds kind of interesting because they've got that range of augmented strings, haven't they? And augmented piano sounds really good. It sounds like they're really going for the sort of Spitfire vibe on that, which is very sort of filmic and atmospheric, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to do something different in a sampled instrument space, I think. And I remember when the augmented strings came out, it's kind of like, I don't know. But what they seem to do is, at least looking at the piano earlier, it's like taking a piano sound, which I could from numerous sources. And what I tend to do is stick a load of effects and weirdness on it. And that's sort of what they've done for you and just given you a few macros to play with. So like that works for me. I like a good piano and I like sticking crazy stuff on it. So, that does
it's interesting. It's got 2 layers, augmented piano, 2 layers, and each layer also has 2 sample layers. So you've got up to 4 things that you can, and also all of those effects. I think it's €99, which seems reasonable. I actually wouldn't. I'm going to get my hands on that. I think I'm quite interested in that one. Out of the other releases, we also got the Minifuse 4, which is a 4IO. 219. So they're I don't know how many SKUs they've got on the Minifuse range, but it's a lot. It's come a long way since that Cube, the original Minifuse, which seemed like a great idea, apart from it had an enormous amount of cablage that would hang off the back of it, which made it kind of and it got insanely hot. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I have the Cube audio fuse. It's sitting over there in its own fridge, just out of reach. I mean, the nice thing about it is that it's very controllable from its software panels. You don't actually have to touch it at all, which is good because it's so hot. It's just quite unbelievable. And also the power supply in the back is very, very loose, so you just don't want to touch it at all. But as far as I/O goes, it's fantastic. It has absolutely everything that I've ever wanted in an audio interface. With the mini ones, they're not bad. I've reviewed the 1 and the 2, or the 2 and the 3, or the previous ones, and it's good. It's just good, solid, bog standard. I can't remember there being any standout feature other than it just plugged in, worked, and did what it was supposed to.
Well, I wonder. I think there might be. I get the feeling there's going to be more from Arturia. I mean, as with what's been I think this has been happening recently, hasn't it? You get the whole period of lockdown and kind of people sitting at home and thinking about things. We get these kind of bursting forth of ideas which have been developed over all this time when people had a bit more time on their hands and kind of have got a bit more kind of left creatively. And I guess the shortages and having to design smarter and think, well, I can't use that anymore, which made the job easier. So, hey, but I've just discovered this can do it, and we can get those there apart from a Hoover or whatever it may be. So I think we're going to see more from them. And of course, they've got software as well, haven't they? So, they can attack it from all angles.
Yeah, no, definitely. I also wanted to point out the UI on the augmented stuff as well. What they've done with that interface is just really very, very lovely. So top marks to the design crew that have these strangely breathable aspects on the side of the augmented synths. I enjoy those sorts of things. Simply
I'm
minded.
just seeing if I can actually yeah, let's see, because I should have had the I was going to have all of this stuff up and ready, but I had a last minute kind of load of stuff happen that meant I was a little bit late. Let's see, Artoria. I'll type it in right, and then I can open up the web page. It's a bit. I have to type this in a web page so that the web page then opens here. Right, here we go. Let's have a look. We'll accept all the cookies. We'll just do all of that stuff. But I'm now viewing the web page via my editing software, which is a bit weird. Okay,
Yeah, it's not smooth, is it?
There we go. Augmented grand piano. Discover. It's a nice. That's the interface. It's very simple. I mean, it's there are similarities to the simplicity. Like the kind of play engine that Spitfire have done with their free things.
Yes.
But I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a good thing to see. But we'll see. Anyway, right. So, what's next? Actually, I'll tell you what. Let's go for a little bit of sponsorage from our friends iZotope. I did say that perhaps last week was Prince Charles Alexander's last week on Sonic Talk for the time being, and I was correct. So we can all shed a tear, but enjoy the goodness that is iZotope Ozone 10. Yep, it's the future of mastering. You've got Master Assistance, which matches your master to a reference file, so you could do some pretty cool stuff with matching what you want to what it's going to be like. You've got the Stabilizer module, which is only available in advance, but adds clarity with intelligent adaptive mastering EQ. We've got Impact module, which is also in advance, enhance the rhythm but for controlling microdynamics. Don't forget, the launch price ends tomorrow. So don't forget, if you use the code SONIC10, you could be able to save an additional 10%. If I bring, yes, that's the page I'm looking for. So if you go to iZotope.com/Sonic Talk, information there, how to input the code SONIC10 to claim 10% off. And that does generally apply to the already discounted stuff. So it's, you can save big. I don't know what the discount pricing. I think it depends what you've got and where you're upgrading from and all those kind of things. But we do thank them very much for their support. Much welcome. Okay, right. Let's have a look. I was going to go to. Let me see. It's like I've got a massive choice. I mean, most of the news is from Arturia, basically, isn't it? They've just sort of dominated. Although there are, I mean, those of us who are inside the kind of behind the velvet rope of the press. There is so much stuff happening at this time. Everybody's trying to get their things in before Black Friday and Christmas and all the pre-orders and stuff. So it's absolute bloody chaos.
Crikey, got that to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't even know when is Black Friday and Amazon Prime Day. Have we had Amazon Prime Day?
Oh, isn't it all associated with Thanksgiving somewhere? Which that's the end of October,
okay.
Isn't it? Or is it Halloween?
Yeah, okay.
Is it Halloween first? Oh, glory! I can't remember.
I can't.
Someone will know.
Someone in the chat. There might be someone from America listening who can set us straight with it in the chat, I think. So yeah, we'll find out soon enough. Right. Okay. Well, let's get on to. I'm going to look at Arturia News. Yeah. Here we go. This is just another piece of interesting Frenchness. This is X keys. I think that's what it's supposed to pronounce, and it uses that sort of isomorphic. Well, that's how they pronounce it.
This is X-Key.
Yeah, no, well done. X-Key.
A new expressive and intuitive way to produce and perform music. Just pick a sound and record your best loops.
This is so French. I've got to scroll on because there is a bit. Hold on, you've just got to see this. Look, here are some people at a party grooving on down. I think I mean, I saw this and I thought, okay, because I've seen this before. They did another thing which had two faces, and I think it's based on sort of accordion fingering, which I know is really big in France. A lot of people learn to play that, so it's a very common interface. I mean, I think for somebody like me, it's just they're saying part of the tagline is beginner or amateur, you'll be making music in no time, and it's like I would say or be equally confused because you don't know how to play that particular thing. I mean, it's a combination. It's an interface with MPE on all of those pads plus an app which goes with it. I think it's a Kickstarter. And then I went over to Kickstarter. You look at the Kickstarter, they're absolutely massive. I mean, that's gone up by 10 grand since I checked about an hour ago. So it's just absolutely, and I'm pretty sure that's not our audience, because that would be pretty quick. So, I mean, it's huge. It obviously is a thing, and people are really want unique expressive controllers, clearly.
They seem to, yeah. So yeah, button accordion. They were called Dualo or something. That's probably not important.
Yes, Dualo. That's right.
But we seem to be doing a lot of reinventing of how to play music. It's like there was one a while ago that told us that to learn to play music on a piano is ridiculously hard and no one should ever attempt it. And so here's a new way of doing it that you're going to have to learn all over again. And like, this is another way of looking at it, or at least the sort of the isomorphic hexagonal type pad is at least reasonably familiar, I think, to some degree. But I mean, it lights up and it will tell you which notes to play because they'll all light up in green for you. So I don't suppose it can be that difficult. The thing that puzzled me a little bit is that it's only a controller, and very much what they were showing in the video was making music with it. So looping and then layering and bits and pieces, but you can only do that in the app. So you're always going to have a phone hanging off it or a computer hanging off it in order to do the layer on layer music side, which I think is perhaps a shame. But I mean, heck, we do normally have computers knocking around, I suppose. But but otherwise it looks fun, you know.
I tell you what, it does remind me a little bit, which I'm not sure is a very positive association, and that is obviously with the kind of whole Roly Blocks ecosphere, where it would tie in with the app, and the app never quite kind of delivered. It was like you needed to be pretty much a full-time Roly studying to be able to get the most out of it, because it always did infuriatingly unexpected things and didn't respond in the way that you thought it would do. Whereas the surfaces themselves, promise, and they got those in the Apple Store. I mean, whatever you think of what Roly, became and did and is another thing, but they were very successful in making kind of blinky light things that made people really want it. And I'm guessing this is happening to a degree with this as well, which is, I just find it fascinating that can be so successful. I mean, where are they? They're $65,000. Oh, that's why it's different, because I was looking at it in pounds, so that's why the number's gone up. Was that 60 just
no,
now?
it's 1 for 1 these days, isn't it? That hardly means anything.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Dollars to pounds.
Yeah, that's true. I do find it fascinating that but it's the isomorphic thing, and I think there are obviously. I mean, I'm being particularly Western, because obviously I think that those isomorphic keys also apply to accordions. Are quite big in a lot of cultures other than France. I mean, I think there's quite a lot of French African nations that also have that, and Arabic stuff as well. So I mean, there are potentially a lot of people that would play it. I just think it's an interesting idea, because I mean, like you say, if you had, so I've got a keyboard, I've also got maybe an MPC or something with 64 pads, or 32 pads, and I've got one of those, and then I'm kind of jumping between them. It's going to be it's quite confusing. It's a bit like being able to speak fluently in multiple languages, I guess. It could be challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really what advantage it would have. I mean, are you packing more notes into a smaller space, I suppose? I mean, you're using shapes in order to play the same chord but in different pitches, but then you do that on a keyboard anyway. Or you do it on a guitar. I mean, on all instruments you develop a way of shaping in order to change things around. So I'm not entirely sure what it's. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just not trying. I can't quite hook my brain into how is this going to help us make music more effectively. I mean, as a teaching tool, maybe they've got a lot of that in that it can show you what to play by lighting up the notes. That's a very clever interaction with the app. Is good. That's all very positive. But then the skills you're learning aren't going to be transferable to any other situation. I don't know. It's curious, but we have an endless thirst for MIDI controllers of all sorts. It seems to be everyone goes, oh, I've got an idea. It's definitely a new idea. Here you go, Kickstarter. And
well, that's funny, but because the accordion thing, the one which had the two, you could sort of understand that, because you would have a left hand and a right hand. When you've only got one, I mean, playing kind of maybe pedal notes or chord accompaniments and then lead lines in the other hand would make sense. On this, it's obviously you'd need a looper because you've only effectively got one half of what would be an accordion style keyboard, I guess. Maybe unless you get two.
I suppose. But it's also bigger than it looks, if that makes sense. As in, you initially think it's kind of like about the size of a phone or something like that, but it's not. It's actually quite a chunky piece of equipment when you see some of the photos of someone playing on a park bench.
There we go. It's the size of a larger thing. Don't know what you'd call that. Maybe a large. Well, it's half a laptop. If you look at the laptop next to it, yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. An interesting one. Let's see what else we've got. Let's get into a bit of acquisition mergers just for the fun of it. Did you see this? That basically, I don't even know if I've got a thing for this. Oh, yes, we do. Slate Digital, those we know, Stephen Slate, etc., is bought by Audiotonics. And I actually was sort of suggesting that is, Pat, I've got I think we've got Audiotonics acquires, that's actually one of your articles, Robin. You probably know more about it than I do. Thank goodness for that.
I didn't write it.
You didn't write that one. But it's,
I'm just worried that...
So go.
Sorry, I say I'm just worried that what's going to happen if Stephen Slate disappears? I mean, his perfectly smooth face is been a feature for many, many years, and I fear that if that's taken away, I don't know how we're going to handle ourselves anymore.
You think we'll have there'll be a break in the substance of the universe somehow?
There's something very comforting about about his promotional videos. I don't know what it is, or maybe they could replace him with with an AI or something, and maybe no one would notice.
That's true. It's interesting. Well, for those of you who don't know, obviously Slate Digital, they do Slate. I don't know if it's just Slate because there's two wings. There's Slate Digital. They do a lot of plugins. They do some great bundle. I did some presentation videos on the Anna 2, which I thought sounded really good. Actually, there's some lovely sounds in there. And they've got the modeling mics. They've got a whole load of plugins. They were amongst the first to go subscription model, I think, but they have a lot of stuff. So if you do get some, there's a ton of things, and a lot of people kind of dig their thing. I mean, it's like your Slate or Waves in many ways, I think, or maybe both. I think they cover similar grounds, lots of vintage component model stuff. But Audiotonics, they own Digico, Calrec, Allen Heath, SSL, and Sound Devices. So that's telling me, with Digico, Calrec, Allen Heath, and SSL, that is a mass. I mean, Digico are probably most of the big live touring sound desks. For big festival rigs. I mean, you might get other stuff, but they own SSL as well. Sound Devices, who make very high-end portable recording devices. So I wonder if they're aligning themselves to put all of this stuff into their live consoles, so they get all of that. That would make the most sense. They just acquire all that and you run it all on the live consoles, right?
Yeah, I mean, is that the way these things normally go? Do you think people get bored out in order to integrate, or are they just looking to have another interesting string to their bow?
Well, I don't know. I think SSL do some plugins and have done some plugins for a while, but perhaps not. They're not as well known and not as far down the line or as numerous as perhaps some of those other brands are. So maybe that's the reason they're doing it. I'm just looking up at the chat room to see if anyone has any insight. But they seem largely disinterested. So maybe we should move on. That's been, to be fair, that one's been in the queue for a long time, and I'm just throwing it out there because, there's just the two of us. I think we should have a jingle. Who wrote Just the Two of Us? There's a song, isn't there? Was it Bill Withers?
Bill Withers?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Well spotted. You get a bonus point for that one, Robin. Okay. Right, let's see. I've done that one. Gosh, we're going to get through some stuff real quick. Okay, here we go. This is a bit of a weird video, and it's an interesting idea, but this gentleman seems very keen on a shiny room and shank.
Presenting Bouncer, a 10-channel mixer and a 2-track digital recorder that will make your Dollars jams a breeze. Based on the award-winning Mixer Face, Bouncer packs a 10-channel mixer and a professional digital recorder in a device that fits in the palm of your hand. Bouncer sounds awesome and is ideal for Dollars jamming when you need to bring together several synths and groove boxes in a small space of a desk or a performance venue. Forget the huge mixer and record your jams easily as they're happening in real time.
Okay, I think he's. I think we've got the message. It's for doorless jams, right? But yeah, this is an interesting thing. Actually, I have to say, the Centrance stuff. They've been making kind of quite high end sort of portable things. The thing about them is they have. Or they previously didn't have. They had onboard batteries that wouldn't charge as you go. So there was a little bit, but this thing. So 10 audio inputs. I think it's 24-bit 96K. Lovely VU meter. I thought that's the thing that I really took away from that. Let's have a look. I don't know if I've got the. Have we got the original the page that goes to it? We go to the bouncer page. There's probably a link there somewhere. And obviously this is 1/8 inch, so it's competing in a way with the 1010. Music Blue Box, which is a multi-channel mixer and recorder. The only thing that I would say about this for me is it doesn't act as an audio interface at the same time. And I think that it's not common, but I think that is the way forward.
Yeah, but I mean that then doesn't define it as a doorless jamming thing. Then does it? It all becomes a bit doorified. So maybe that's a deliberate ploy to keep it as a separate piece of hardware. I mean it's not pretty, but I mean I think it's perfectly a perfect box of usefulness. It's exactly the sort of thing I'm after, because I get whenever I'm trying to tie together a lot of things which are playing at once. I'm forever trying to work out different ways of plugging it together, because I don't have a mixer. I'm refusing to buy to use up any more desk space with this enormous mixer that I will never use any of the features of, because I just don't, level control, panning, maybe all that other stuff. What is all that other stuff north of the faders? I don't know. It's all a mystery to me, but this seems to do just the thing that I need. I just need to plug my synths in, and I just need a little bit of level control. And as long as I'm not worried about it looking gorgeous, then it's perfect.
I suppose the thing about this is what I'm seeing here is the fact that there is. Does that mean? Yeah, there we go. That's it. Hold on, I'm trying to get myself into the right hole. There we go. It looks like it's designed to sort of fit on a tripod on camera. I mean, I don't like the look of having 8 or 5 stereo leads dangling off there without any kind of tension relief. If I'm honest, I really like the top panel. I think that's great. But the point is, I would want to be able to, if I'm doing a jam, I'd want to be able to kind of go, okay, well, I want to multi-track this, but I also want the stereo mix, which is what I'm listening to be going somewhere, whether that's to my phone for a live stream or to my phone because I'm recording on the camera and I can just upload that straight to Instagram or whatever. That's what, and if it didn't work out, maybe I can put it all back together and recombine it. But that's what I'm missing. And I think that is key.
But that's it. That's not the thing, though. That's not what makes it doorless. Doorless has to be the risk of absolutely not capturing it. I mean, I love the fact that it's got an SD card in the side and you can hit record and record your thing. But no to the multi-track fiddling post-production nonsense. No. That's all door stuff. You want to go, you make your music in that moment. You're mixing it through this little box, and at the end of the day, you get a stereo file, and that's your lot, mate. And that's how it should be. But hold on. This records. But this does record the multi-track. I don't know that it records the stereo. That's the point. It is just the multi-track. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to let you go down that one. Yeah, you painted yourself into a corner there, Robin. I'm terribly sorry. I was enjoying that tremendously. But never mind. But hey, let's just pretend that it does.
Yeah, I mean, it may record the stereo as one of the features, but I mean, it's also, was it $599 US? I mean, I've been banging on everywhere I go. I've got this PodTrack P4, which is supposed to be, it's very simple. It's a 4-channel, 4 mics or 2 mics and a stereo and a USB return and sound pattern. It records the stereo mix and all the 4 inputs, so that could be up to 10 channels, right? But at the same time, it is also an audio interface. So I plug it into my phone and all those channels are mixed and they go into my phone. So if we do like a trade show, or I did an interview yesterday, we're doing the new series of touring little independent music shops. I did want to elevate a sound yesterday. Thanks to them for having me. And it meant that I could do the whole thing. I got the it's in the footage, the audio mix is in the footage. But if I cocked it up, then I can go back to the multi-track and I can explode it and go, oh yeah, I need to cut that bit out, and that's fine. And that's what I need. I just think it feels like it's missing a trick a little bit, but anyway, I've been banging on about the P4 to anybody who'll listen, and even people who won't listen, frankly. But and it's only 150 quid. I mean, crikey.
Yeah.
Right.
So is this competition then to the teenage engineering micro tiny weenie thing?
I suppose in a way. Well, the teenage engineering thing is obviously a lot smaller. It has a lot more processing, so you've got effectively channel strips with dynamics and EQ and whatnot. And I think it only records stereo to an external drive. It doesn't record multi-track, which could work. I mean, when we looked at the teenage engineering thing, we thought, we were thinking, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could just have that with our phone, and it would be, and I'm sure it would, but it's just a bit rich, for me. I can't, because we've got 3 rigs, maybe 4 rigs. That's like $4,000 just on the audio path. I just couldn't do it. I'm sure I might be able to get a discount, but it still wouldn't be enough to make it worthwhile. But having said that, I want one and I want to play with it. Everybody I know who's got one. I mean, Cuckoo's raving about his all the time, and Ty's got one, and he said it's a lovely thing. And I do know, I know it's contentious, but it's full of very expensive, high quality components. The A to Ds and everything are really good in it, and all of that, and that's fine. That's cool. So maybe this is similar but cheaper, if you see what I mean, and bigger.
Yes. Not as beautiful though. This is it looks like a DI box, doesn't it? So it will probably survive if it's dropped on the floor and trodden on and those sorts of things, which is no bad thing. I imagine Velcroing it to the side of my keyboard stand. That's probably where it would end up.
Yeah, and there's a little record button there. Yeah, there we go. I'm sure there's indications that it is recording and stuff. But anyway, okay, so we've got that one. Obviously we're stringing this one out for as long as possible because we have a dearth of topics, as it turns out. But there we go. I think I went a bit early with the Stephen Slate thing. Let's actually take a moment now to hear from our friends over at Baby Audio. Yep, Baby Audio makes creative effect plugins designed to add colour and depth to your mixes. They won Plugin of the Year 2021 in Future Music, and Computer Music Magazine nominated them for the SOS Awards 2 years in a row. Spaced Out, why not try that? It's a modern interpretation of the Space Echo effect, uniting delay, reverb and modulation into a creative workflow. It was named Plugin of the Year by FM and CM Magazine, and you can get 15% off this and other plugins by checking out with the code ST15 at babyaudio.com. And once again, we very much thank them for their support of the podcast. It's much appreciated. Okay, let's see what else we got. We did that, we've done that, Bouncer, Equus, Arturia. Actually, we could do questions, couldn't we? Because we've this is a new thing that we do. I keep forgetting about that. Why don't we do some questions and see what there is? I'm going to do this one because I think this one is actually quite apposite, because you did a great video on this. So this is a question from Nick Howes. No, it's not. That's the wrong one. I beg your pardon. It's not that one. I keep getting the button wrong. Okay, I'll retake that. This is a question from Nick Howes via YouTube. Does Yoad or any other studio manager foresee major issues with the cost of energy and retaining commercial viability? Now, I'm going to come to you first, Robin, because you're the only guest, but also because you did a really interesting video on the cost of power. Measuring. I mean, unscientific. I know the caveat, but I thought it was really interesting, and you'll find
unscientific. How dare you? I've got an app on my phone. I tell you,
you were saying that it was. I'm just paraphrasing what you said.
Yes. It wasn't particularly. Well, it was as one can make certain measurements and then make terrible assumptions and presumptions from all those sorts of things. It was really interesting because it bothers me a lot, the whole situation, but just trying to focus it down onto what we actually do and use. How viable are our electronic studios that are packed full of gear and lights and cameras and phantom powering, all this sort of thing. It's worth looking at, I think. And I think my conclusions were pretty much that actually we don't use a whole amount in the big scheme of things, but it's more in running the space is where you're going to find the power really costs. Well,
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's good. I mean, the numbers you were coming up with all your synths on, You know, it was pretty negligible if that's what you're doing for a living, and your cameras, to be honest. And I was thinking, oh, that's encouraging. And then you got onto the heater, which is just and the bigger computers. That's the thing that did for me. I mean, I suppose to answer the question, yeah, it's going to be an issue because certainly in the UK we have supposedly a price cap. I mean, this is all fluid because there's U-turns galore going on everywhere. We don't know. But that has never applied to the commercial sector. So if you're running a business in a business premises, you don't get the price cap. So it could just go up and up and up. And we're seeing businesses that say maybe have to run lots of refrigerators and whatnot, or air conditioning, or big old Neve desks or whatever. Yes, it is going to increase. I mean, my household bill has gone up by 200%. So that, if you're in a commercial facility, is going to affect your bottom line. I mean, absolutely no doubt. But what's interesting about it is also the positive outcome is you start thinking, okay, what have I got here that is using up all the gas? You know, like I haven't switched on the heating much in our house, and by this time last year it would have been on, you know, quite a lot, because you're going to wake up in the morning, oh, it's a bit chilly. It's like, well, that's fine, I'll be a bit chilly, it's no problem, I'll just have a cup of tea and sit with a blanket over my knees or whatever it may be. Obviously, you know, that's not great for everybody. Not everybody can survive like that. But what it has, I was working out, we've got an old Mac Pro cheese grater under the desk here which runs our code for Sonic State and a database backup, and that's it. And I was thinking, that seems a bit excessive. I wonder how much that costs. And that costs about 85 pence a day to run. So that's like, you know, getting on for 25, 30 quid a month just to have a computer sitting there under my bed. And then I've got another computer over here, which I leave on because I get to it. So I think, well, if I replace that with a Mac Mini, which runs at maybe 12 watts, that's going to be a huge saving, you know, that could replace both of those computers. So you start thinking in those terms. And I think that is a good thing, you know, that we focus on that, because we do know that we have to start just cutting our consumption because we've been chewing through the resources of the planet. And there's that as well, right? Not just
absolutely. I think that's a really good positive spin to take on it, is that we are becoming much more aware of our power because it's hurting us, you know. And what I would like to see is this sort of thing resolved by the use of renewables, by the use of better power structures, and, you know, dare I say, nationalization and so on and so forth, because power should be, I mean, we're supposed to be in flying cars, for heaven's sake, at this time in mankind's timeline. So energy should be plentiful, it should be free, and it shouldn't be breaking the planet. So this, I think, is a moment in time when perhaps all of these things can come together and we can find a better way of doing it.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's hard not to stray into political areas with this, but I think we've both done a pretty fantastic job of not doing that. So well done, Robin. Pat yourself on the back. I think we. But yeah, do check out Robin's video on what's the title of your video? Because I've got on Molten Music. Definitely. Check it out.
What did I call it? Energy Crisis. What about synths? I think it was called.
No, not even a hint of the clickbait with that title. Well,
no, it was.
I
agonized over that thumbnail. I have to say that was just so much fun, because I shy away from crazy thumbnails. But this one, no, I'm going to town. Damn it! For once, I'm trying to find it now, but of course I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Well,
I'll post it in the what's it.
Post it in the chat, and then it'll be seen. That'd be good. Okay, well, let's get on to let's find another question. What's the nice keyword? Let me see. I didn't prepare these, but there are still plenty coming in. Okay, here we go. This is one for yes, right. This is from I don't know how, Spillage Oath Music via Twitter. Because you can submit via Twitter. Spillage Oath Music via Twitter says, do you have a piece of gear that you never use and probably will never use again, but for sentimental reasons can't bear to part with it? Okay. I'm trying to think. Well, while you dwell on that, I'll have a think. I think, yes, there are things that I've got that I very rarely use. I mean, it's a different situation here purely because we don't always have... some stuff comes in for review, never goes out again, and you can't sell it or anything, or it feels wrong to sell it. But, the company's either gone out of business or the distributor's gone, and you've got these things that are sitting around. You think, well, what am I going to do with that? But in terms of stuff, my own things, I've got my original O1W, which I used to use on remixes back in the day for that classic piano sound and pole and all of those sort of dreadful synth, and I lent it to a friend of mine's daughter because she was in a band and she gigged with it for a while, and then it finally came back, and now I it still works, but it's dead. All the memory is gone. So basically, all you can play are the PCM samples with no envelopes or anything, and there's no display. I probably won't get rid of it because it represents a real period in my life where, it was my first sort of go at making music professionally. So I probably wouldn't get rid of it for that reason. Although I can imagine if I have to downsize, it might go. But right now, I'm not considering doing it. What about you then, Robin?
Well, I do have lots of lovely things that I don't use, but I don't get too sentimental about them. I mean, I've hung on to guitars for a very, very long time for no reason that I can think of, other than them being like, it's not my first ever guitar, but my second ever guitar that I got when I was 19 is still on the wall over there. And then my acoustic guitar I got when I was 20, I think, and I still have that.
Right.
So those tend to stick around, but I do play them. They still get some use. I do have a few modules. Eurorack modules tend to spill out, and there's certainly lots there which I really love, but I don't necessarily understand. Like Magneto's a good one, the Strymon Magneto. It's a fantastic module in other people's hands. In my hands, it's like I'm just so. I'd rather get just a delay pedal, mate. Just stick that in. I understand that. This thing, I don't know what is going on. So,
Right.
but I love it. I know that I love it, and I know that I have. That there have
You're
been occasions when beauty
have another
has come
go
out.
sometime. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I'm planning to do I don't understand the Magneto video at some point, clickbait video, where I just try to go through it and show how little I understand of it. But I don't know how clickable that is. I don't know. Maybe there's.
Well, I don't know. It depends on the face, Rob. If you're kind of if you really, you really ham it up. Yeah, there we go. That's it. Yeah, there we go. You can always talk to Bo. He's the classic master of doing those kinds of faces. He's got them down pat. Actually, talking about that, about the guitar. Yeah, I've got a guitar which has some provenance. I've spoken about it before. It's a Burns Split Sonic guitar that my first band, the guitar, it was his guitar. And it eventually came to me. So it represents an awful lot of things. And it's a beautiful thing. It's older than I am. And it was also sold from a music shop that no longer exists in Bath by a guy who used to run it there. And I've met him a couple of times and he's getting on a bit now. And I said, I've got that guitar. And he's like, oh, okay. And that I would never get rid of that. That's my first guitar. So that I would have been like 17, probably. So I've got you beat a little bit there, but I don't think I got the guitar. Yeah, no, actually, maybe a bit younger. But yeah, Burns London Split Sonic original guitar. That's I would never get rid of. Although it's been cannibalized so much that it hasn't really got any resale value, and the neck's a bit split. But again, that's another guitar. I lent it to my sister-in-law's kids who wanted to learn guitar. I let it to them. I don't know why, because it must have been knocked over so many times. It's got lots of chips on it. But yeah, that's the other thing. Okay, right. Let's see. We've probably got another. Oh goodness, we've got more. Okay, we could get into some philosophical stuff. What do you fancy, philosophical or subjective?
Well, I mean, one could say that to be philosophical is the ultimate pursuance of the subject.
Okay, all right. Well, that sort of does. Okay, okay. We'll go for this one. So this is from Robarth. Oops, sorry. I'll believe that. Robarth Melted Cheese Home Studio via YouTube. Will more new gear make you more creative in making music, in your opinion, or just happier for a short period of time? That's a dangerous question to answer for us because we're in the business of sort of propagating the myth or the desire for new stuff. So that's a tricky one. I mean, as reviewers, Robin, we get the opportunity to have it and not necessarily have to own it or worry about thinking about how much it might cost because it goes, it's transient, it's passing. So we get a vicarious vibe with that. It doesn't mean quite the same thing to us, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think?
No, you're right. It's difficult to put yourselves in the shoes of the real punters. But I think I think there's. I don't think it's a black and white answer. I think there's shades of stuff in there. I think one of the really healthy things about Eurorack is the secondhand movement of modules that goes through the community, because absolutely, I believe in the idea that if you just have a guitar and you're on a hill, you will play that guitar and enjoy doing all of that. But there's also a sense that just changing small things in your setup can spark an amazing journey of inspiration. So in a Eurorack setup, when you've got this synthesizer which is sort of changing by bringing new stuff in and letting other stuff go, I think that maintains this level of interest that you might not necessarily have, because we're all busy. We can't all devote our lives to music and study it in that way. And so you need quick triggers. You need things which are just going to spark something or spice something up a little bit that's not going to take an agonizingly long period of time in order to try to, give birth to a sound or a piece of music or a sequence or something. You need quick triggers, quick little bits that push you along. And I think the movement of gear through your studio, through your environment, can very much help that.
That's interesting. I suppose with Eurorack, I mean, the danger is you don't replace it. You just buy bigger cases and keep going. I guess you could apply the same thing. Things like apps, plugins have become much more. A lot of the Cherry Audio stuff, a lot of things. Have gone there's lots of $29, $39 things that could be quite inspiring, and there's also lots of free stuff. So you can get that sort of feeling. So, but I think that in some ways it's a bit like, well, if I wear this aftershave, I will be more attractive to the opposite sex, or or the sex I'm after, whatever it may be. But so in some ways it's this constant sort of looking for the other, which is not always healthy, but it's part of what we do. It's the human condition, and it's the same with music. If I get this, then the next demo I do will be big enough. I'll get signed and I'll end up on the telly. Whatever. They're these same aspirational qualities to it, and I suppose the trick is to find a way to do it, find a seam to mine that doesn't cost you £1,000 every time you need something new. Maybe.
Yeah, but that also suggests that there's an end to it, which I don't necessarily think there is. It's like saying there's an end to music. It's like, I've listened to a piece of music. Okay, great. I don't need to listen to any more music now. That's not really how it works. It's not how passion works, or love works, or satisfaction works when you're looking at how your life goes along its time. And so I think there's room for adding and augmenting that as you go. And also, I mean, some things, particularly when you look at plugins, I mean, you can buy an Xbox game for 40 quid or a PlayStation game and play it for 10 hours and feel like you've had a good time. You can do the same with a Cherry Audio synth. You can buy that for a similar price and enjoy playing that for a time, even if you then never play it again. It served its purpose, and things have a value, even if it's for a short period of time. It doesn't have to be that one thing that you've purchased that you then learn inside out and have based your future music on. But it can be. This is the thing. It doesn't have to be either or. You can absolutely take one thing and just enjoy that forever. But I quite like crashing through new things and finding other stuff that's interesting and being enthralled by something new as it comes along.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I think as a reviewer, sometimes it can be quite wearing because you can't do that every day. It's sort of, there's a cadence to, if it's something that you're after, there's an anticipation, and then you get your hands on it. If it's just, everything is just like, oh, there's another one coming tomorrow that's almost the same as the last thing I've just done, it can get a little bit, you need to get a break. I just want to say thanks very much to Di Stanton. Di Stanton has actually said, thank you with Super Chat for getting the Fragrant Robin on, which is a very... I'm trying to think. What was there was a thing, wasn't there, where the term "fragrant" was used? It was in some kind of political scandal. I can't remember what it is. I'm sure you're no way in.
Nothing to do with me.
Embroiled. No, nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with it. Okay, there was something that came in. This was from D-Vision of our YouTube, which was, can you give a shout out to a new EMOM night in Yorkshire at Bingley on the 10th of November? So yes, I can, and I have. I suppose is the answer to that one. That's quite simple and straightforward. Let me see. What item? Have you got time for any more of these, or would you? Because I mean, we can keep going and clear the backlog if you like. I don't know what time.
I don't mind.
What time you've got to go. Okay, we'll do a couple more then. Let's do a couple more.
I put the dinner in the slow cooker at breakfast, so we can eat at any time.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we won't be going that long, I assure you. But let me see. Okay. Have we got any more commonly used? Yeah. Crikey. Okay. Gosh, I'm sorry about this. There's so many questions. I'm just trying. Oh, yeah. Here we go. I like this one. This was another one from Nick Howes. Nick Howes has said, Is it time, as Deadmau5 implied, that 60-year-old MIDI is dead, much as it makes me furious giving his timing up just after Mr. Smith supplied with devices like Osmos? That's an interesting one. I don't know. I think MIDI will go on forever. Personally, I think it has endless purpose and endless use. I mean, essentially, with everything that you can do with translating, a MIDI event into having something else happen, it's endless possibility. I mean, the amount of bits of data, you've got one single MIDI channel, you've got 128 notes, and each of those notes has an individual velocity value, and then you've got 128 controllers, and they all have values, and so there is so much data and so many things that you can make happen. I've got a MIDI button here. This is MIDI. This is all the MIDI. I'm using MIDI on this. It's just basically every single thing, and that triggers an event in the show, And I'm not using it for playing notes or anything. I think it has an endlessly possible potential. I don't know about you, Robin.
I mean, what was his context for this? Was there anything particularly that sparked? Because, I mean, why not? Why? It's like saying, oh, let's not use sound anymore. Why say that? There must be some reason to decide
I wonder
that's a
if
useless protocol.
I wonder if it's because Deadmau5 has a very, from what I remember seeing a couple of videos of his live setup where everything is kind of controlled via surfaces, including the visuals, the graphics, the lights, all ties together. And I'm assuming it might be something to do with the fact of bandwidth and the density of events that he has to throw about the place. MIDI can't cope with that. And yes, there are limitations there. If you're trying to run like a major event with, or lots and lots and lots of MIDI, like old school, like we used to with big piles of live MIDI keyboards running from an Atari computer, you would run into these limitations with MIDI. But we don't really have that issue anymore because most of our devices are maybe connected via USB, which doesn't have that much of a bus limitation. So there's a lot, maybe that's where it's coming from, Robin, I suppose is what I was trying to say.
But very few people are in that situation, I think. So it's just an odd statement. But then, hey, we can all say odd things from time to time. I mean, it's more odd. I think MIDI 2.0 is more of an odd case in that I don't think anyone is sitting around going, I wish I had. God, just give me more bits in my MIDI stream. A little bit more control, or maybe we all are. I don't know. I think mostly just getting on with it. I think MIDI has become more or less this background thing that's fairly seamless. I don't know. It seems it just seems a strange.
It
thing
is. Well, I think there's. I've been messing a little bit with OSC, just because I can't remember why I had to. Oh, that's because we've got the Behringer X32 here, and we put the SD recording card in it, and the only way you can get it to go into record mode remotely is by sending an OSC command. So I've been figuring that. I'm trying to figure that stuff out. Actually, there's a little button that you can check that says you can convert the OSC text, which might be kind of like / X32 / function / record / record, whatever it is, and you have to convert that into a hexadecimal representation of the string and then send that over it's just, that is pretty arcane. So yeah, I can see OSC makes a lot of sense, but it's very unfamiliar in the same way that anything that you're writing in hex. I mean, raw MIDI data is really not much fun. You know, it's not a sort of thing. I mean, back in the day, I
No.
used to be able to see strings and go, oh, I know that's Roland, and I know that's probably the filter, just because I used to do loads of it. You know, I used to see a lot of that. Whereas none of us need to see any of that stuff. I mean, I don't care how my telly works. I just want to know that when I press this button, something happens that I want. You know, so as long as it keeps doing
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I got a bit more into it when I was trying to do a lot more Launchpad stuff. When you get into Ableton Live and you want
the
that two-way
manifesting, yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so OSC suddenly becomes more interesting because MIDI is pretty stupid ultimately. Once you dig down into it, it's unable to look after itself really, and so there is room for nice things and things being able to talk to each other and having two-way conversations, those kinds of things. So you know, I can talk myself into MIDI 2.0, I think, if I think about it deep enough. But because, I mean, I think we're used to that kind of level of integration with our DAWs in software. All of that stuff is sort of already there.
Well, yeah, but
it's just
nobody's
because-
doing it. That's the problem. I mean,
No,
the
indeed.
MIDI 2.0 is not being it's not being taken up by anybody. I mean, I haven't seen, you haven't seen a hardware synth out recently that goes, good news, folks. You know, all you need to do is plug this in and it'll tell your MIDI 2.0 capable, whatever it is, what all the knobs are and what parameters are available. I mean, none of that seems to be happening. And what I don't understand is when you've got a bunch of, there are a bunch of really smart people designing the MIDI 2.0 spec. How come they didn't put stuff in there that made people want to implement it? So it's like, oh, I can't wait. It just doesn't seem to be happening. And that's bizarre because I'm pretty sure, even writing translation layers and stuff wouldn't have been that hard, but nobody seems to be bothered. It's sort of almost, that's what I find curious.
It needs a killer application. It needs something which we're all going to go, wow, if only I could have ever done that. But I mean, I don't know. It's like whenever because I install a lot of MIDI controllers because I'm reviewing them. So yeah, my poor old computer is packed full of old drivers that aren't being used anymore. Yeah, when Studio One starts up, it goes, "Do you want to connect any of these?" And I go, "I don't even know what they are anymore." But so every time I plug a new one in, you struggle through that setup. But then when it's set up, you no longer have to think about it. And it's because we usually no longer have to think about it that we're not that interested in a new way or easier way of doing it, because we just get on with it and we get over it, and it's not so bad. I mean, it would be lovely to plug in a keyboard and I don't have to do anything and it just finds itself and it throws up all these things every time I click on something. But I'm not that terribly bothered. I can map a knob without any bother and play it.
Yeah.
Well,
your computer's getting old when your computer's getting old when you see the list of previous and some of them aren't even in business anymore. It's kind of
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, I don't want to. We got through a few, and I appreciate you doing that, Robin. That's great because it's been nice to have. Oh, look, we've got Graham Bentley. There's a super chat. Oh, look, what a kind thing. Great show as always. Please support Sonic through Patreon. Worth every penny. That's very kind. And of course, I would concur because I've been putting a lot of effort into Patreon recently. In fact, one thing that I didn't see, we did the XPO thing with me and Matt, Maths, aka Maths, or Matt, aka Maths. And it was a twos up thing. It kind of worked pretty well. But then he did another additional video, which is just him doing some patching ideas on the XPO. Honestly, it was like, now I understand why you want to get this, because it does all of these things all at the same time. So, and that's something you can't see anywhere else, folks. You can only see it on Patreon, and that's just the way it is. And it's not like we're not putting things up that we would normally put up. Anyway, that's my sales pitch, Gun. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Anyway, so Robin, what's next for you?
Yeah.
What's in the pipeline?
Pipeline is as I say, I'm building out the wavefolder on a breadboard this evening for some live electronics. That's going to be exciting. So that's
keeping those voltages low, right? No risk of electrocution.
Hopefully not. A couple of 9-volt batteries are in play. It's very exciting.
Okay.
And then there's probably things I can't talk about. Then it's the end of the month again. I've got all sorts of stuff going on. MIDI Freak. Oh yeah, got to have a look. This thing here. Yeah. Oh, I think I turned it off. Hang on, never mind. Forget that. A bit of that. Some other shenanigans to mess around with.
The thing that it would sound something like that, possibly.
Yeah. So yeah,
Which
lots
is
of
where we're
stuff,
at.
lots of interesting stuff. People keep sending me things, which is lovely, and I do enjoy that. And I wish I could get to things quicker than I sometimes do. It's also the end of my tax year, which is, when you're a one-man army, it's just you keep putting it off, and I've been putting it off all year. So I've got a bit of paperwork to do. So that's exciting too.
Right. Oh wow. Well, I'm as I've said, I'm very spreadsheety. So all my stuff goes into a spreadsheet I designed about 15 years ago. That's my account. But now, well, of course, for those of us in the UK, and I must remember to respond to it, we have to make Tax Digital, which, and the only way you can do that is by a subscription to one of the 2 or 3 Making Tax Digital subscribers, which means you have to pay a monthly subscription just to be able to do your taxes, which I think is, anyway, that's as political as I'm going to get. Anyway, if anyone knows out there a Making Tax Digital solution that means I don't have to spend a lot of money on a subscription, then please tell me, because I already pay an accountant a lot of money and I don't really want to have to do it again and again. It's driving me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I pay a local bookkeeper to do the final digital bit. I think I just have to provide her with figures and somehow explain them. So that's what I've got to come up with.
Is that a long meeting?
Yeah, kind of. I just put everything under entertainment and try to get away with it.
Yes, right. Well, anyway, lovely to have you, Robin. And again, so what time your show's going to? You're doing a live stream tonight. What time?
Tonight, 7:30. Yes, breadboarding a wavefolder, trying to learn what a wavefolder is in a circuit form. For a couple of hours.
Okay. Nice. Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you, and thanks for being game, because 2's Up can be a bit daunting to some people, but not to you. It's absolutely fine. So that's it for this. That's it for this week. Thank you, everybody. We will see you all. Thanks in the chats and everybody. I can't remember which button I press, because I usually press this one, which will look weird because there's only half a screen, but that'll do. Anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye now.